You need to realize that you're the gold you're searching for.
Today on Mirror Talk Soulful Conversations, we welcome a financial planner, emotional wellness advocate, and money behavior expert with nearly 30 years of experience. She has managed over $500 million in assets and worked with high achieving men and women who, on paper, have made it, yet feel unfulfilled or out of sync with their wealth. Through her PACT method, that is picture, accept, commit, take action, she helps clients align their money with their inner truth, break free from subconscious patterns, and create wealth that feels like freedom, not just success. She reminds us that success without alignment leads to burnout. Welcome to the show, Julie. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Doing very well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me all the way from Chicago. And since you mentioned the word Chicago, I started salivating. I don't know why. Maybe I'm more hungry. But let's put food aside and let's learn about financial growth and how to become financially healthy, basically. In this
Yes,
episode.
absolutely. Let's do it.
But before we go into all the questions I would love to ask you, I would like us to get to know you a little bit better by
Yeah.
playing a game of wild cards.
Let's do it.
Yes, let's do it. Yeah. So I'm super excited to pick out the first card right now as I'm shuffling it under the table and get to see what they. Okay, it's not a bad question actually.
Bummer. No, just kidding.
When is the last time you gave somebody a compliment?
I do that every day because the fact that I believe our words are vibration and the entire world works on sound and vibration. We don't realize how powerful our words are. And so the words that we speak, like giving somebody a compliment, actually creates a vibration of a higher level and a higher frequency. And then I believe that when you're putting out that frequency, then that is also then the frequency that you get back yourself.
Yeah.
And so by giving people compliments, it's just about acknowledging people, and it's acknowledging the good in the world. God knows there's enough going around that can point out the bad, but it does make a conscious effort to send out compliments and find the good. I've had people tell me going, well, you just stick your head in the sand. And I'm like, it's not me sticking my head in the sand. It's about me choosing what I want to focus on. And focus on the good. Focus on what's going right in the world and with people.
Yeah. That's a positive mindset, looking at things from the
For sure.
right side. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm already learning from you. Wow. That's awesome. Are you ready for the next question?
Yes, please.
Okay. So this is the confessions level and it's asking, what excuses do you make that hold you back?
Well, there's a lot of excuses. So, I have 11 brothers and sisters, so I didn't come from money. And I started my business when I was 22. And some of the old stories and the old tapes still can, run rampant. The question is, do I give them power or not? That's the thing I think that age has given me, is that, I could certainly make the excuse of like losing weight. I didn't have time. I didn't have this or that, and then there's something that clicked with me in January that I stopped the excuses. And now I'm down about 50 pounds since January. And because I decided to stop making the excuse that, 4 children, don't have the time to exercise, don't have the time to cook at home, and just started to say, oh, I'm going to shift those lifestyles. But God knows we can come up with excuses for everything and anything. It's
That's
super
true.
easy to do in the world. And to me, it's about, let's get past the excuses, even being divorced. I make excuses for why my kids do the things that they do because I feel guilty about the divorce, but yet I knew I'd probably be sick or dead right now if I would have stayed married in that marriage because it was not healthy for me, but I make excuses that it's harder for them or this or that. And it's like, I don't need to fix it. I don't need to people please. I don't need to create excuses. It's just accepting reality, which is an important piece.
Yeah. Thanks so much for sharing that. That's, yeah, things happen in life, but we should not be a victim of it. Like, take control of whatever life gives you and
Right.
make the best of it. Yeah. That's what I'm hearing from it. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Wow. And congratulations on losing those 50 pounds that you lost.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's
My
a great
son weighs
achievement.
80 pounds. He's 10 years old, and I keep saying I'm going to lose Michael. I'm going to lose the total 80.
You're on a good path towards that already. I mean, the weight's not the sun.
I'm almost there.
You're almost
No
there.
more excuses.
Yeah, no excuses. I love that. Yeah, that's awesome. Are you ready for the last one?
Yes.
The last wildcard question, which is from our getting deep level, is who is a stranger you will always remember?
Who is a stranger I'll always remember? I always used to aspire to women like Princess Diana or Jackie Kennedy because they were like classic with a twist. Like they didn't follow the rules that all women were supposed to follow, to be the good girl. They did things that broke the mold. And even though I didn't know them at all, really, obviously, but, I think I'll always hold them in high regard, because of them doing things different and breaking down barriers. And I admire that.
Oh, yeah. That's good. Thanks so much for sharing that. I mean, there are some people that we never get to
Absolutely.
meet, or some people that, are maybe even dead already, like, but we still learn from their stories. We still learn from their journeys that they had.
For
And
sure.
it
Yeah,
inspires us one way or the other.
exactly. Exactly.
And talking about inspiring, when preparing for this conversation, something inspired me from what I read about you or got to learn from you before we got on this call. When I was like, okay, I'm going to speak with you, I was like, oh, I'm going to learn about financial success. I'm going to learn how to awaken my wealth. When I get awaken my wealth, I'm successful. But then I found out that from you that success is not the goal, alignment is. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a game changer for me.
Well, success is the result of alignment. And that's what so many of us don't realize. Money is energy, success is energy. And you don't get the money or the success if you're not in alignment, because you may temporarily get the money. You may have this temporary increase of success or increase of money or love for that matter. But the challenge is when you don't build it on a solid foundation in alignment with your soulful self, then you do what I call creating leaky containers. You'll create scenarios like divorces that cause half your money to go out the door, or you attract employers that at some point don't support you because you watch them not do it right with others. And then you're eventually the one on the chopping block, right? And so when we're trying to chase something outside of ourselves, there's always going to be some kind of dip, but it's about aligning with your true self inside. And so often we've been told like, oh, this part of you is broken. Now fix it and make it better. And it's like, you were born perfect the way that you are, that nothing outside of yourself is going to give you the answer, or is it going to put you in better alignment? Because we all have this inner knowing, but we negotiate it away. We don't give validity because we come from this place of being the underdog. And what most of us don't realize is that before we're 7 years old, every human being experiences some kind of trauma or rejection before age 7. And when that occurs, it somehow shatters our emotional infrastructure inside. And then we spend our lifetime trying to heal those emotions that put us in that place of scarcity when we were a kid. And then you build a life, or you're chasing success, you're chasing money, you're chasing all of that. And really what you're chasing is actually trying to solve the thing that's unresolved in yourself.
Mm.
And actually the only way to create that to be healthier or built on a solid foundation is by feeling those feelings from that little girl or little boy that's inside of us, because then that creates the space for more money, more love, more success to come in. And it's built on a solid foundation then, because it's not built on your trauma or rejection. It's built on who you really truly are, your soulful self.
Your soulful self. Wow. Now I truly understand what you mean by, that truth. Like, you help your clients to align their money with their inner truth, with their true self, their soulful self.
Yeah, like there's practical sides of that from a money perspective. So people tell me like one of their goals is that they want to travel more. And I'm like, okay, well, which savings account do you have set up for just travel? And they're going, I don't have one. I'm like, well, maybe that's why you're not traveling, because you're not intentionally putting money into a bucket to use it for that purpose. Like intentionality with our money is so important because it's energy. And what are your intentions? And you have to fund those intentions with your money. I'll ask people like, well, do you like the stuff that you're invested in? They're going, I don't know. It's what the person said at the bank to put my money into. So I thought it was a good idea. But we have no idea if those investments align with our values or what we want to grow in the world, you know? And so I help people peel that onion in terms of, where it is that they want things to flourish in the world. And is their money funding that and what that is? And I mean, it's really amazing to me how so many people have these dreams and these goals and they know that they have them, but they don't have their financial buckets set up to support that at all. Most people don't when I meet them.
And that's why a lot of people feel stuck, basically, like, or have these subconscious money patterns.
Exactly. Right.
You made mention of an example that it gave me like an aha, basically, like, oh wow. So people gather a lot of money and then they lose it to divorce, for example, or maybe sicknesses or illnesses, basically, because of the trauma that they have not worked on in their lives or
Right.
different. Yeah.
Well, and the solution to that, so I always say that we work things out or we act it out, and we do that through our money, our health, our relationships. So I've seen plenty of people who have been successful in business or in their careers, but then they retire one day and within a couple of years of retirement, they get sick and then they die. And I started thinking to myself going, why does this keep happening? And it keeps happening because they're not in alignment with self. Disease develops in our body from a collection of energy, which our emotions are energy in motion. So when we're not actually feeling our feelings and we're sucking it up, moving on, or disassociating ourselves with anti-anxiety medications or distractions with smoking or drinking or whatever your vice is, that's just an avoidance to feel the feelings that are inside. And so we get sick because those emotions are stuck and it just keeps layering and building up. And eventually, that energy that's built up in a certain part of your body then creates havoc in that part of your body if not released. And all you have to do is experience acupuncture a few times and they stick the needle in somewhere and you're like going, oh, what happened? That's where the energy is stuck. And they're moving the energy so that you don't get sick, right?
Yes. Let's go of those negative energy that you're holding on to.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
You got to just move it.
We're very toxic. Yes. I'd like to learn about the PACT method because you use this method to help people pivot without blowing up their lives. And like you said, a lot of people blow up their lives consciously, subconsciously.
Yeah.
So could you walk us through how this works in real world terms?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I've realized is that my industry is very notorious for saying, hey, this is the most efficient thing to do financially. And someone comes to see them and then they say, okay, you got to do X, Y, and Z and get it done. The challenge with that is that may or may not be in alignment with your emotional infrastructure. It may logically in your left brain be the right thing for you to do at your age and at your life stage, but it may not actually be the thing that keeps your nervous system calm because you cannot create anything or manifest anything unless your nervous system is in neutral. And so the PACT process, what it does is it meets you where you're at. It makes it so that you have a financial container and a process that doesn't hijack your nervous system so that you can keep growing and building into more abundance in an empowered state. So the first step in the process is, which I say is always your compelling reason for change, because you're not going to change anything the way that you're doing it currently if you don't have a dream or a picture of what it is that you want to create new in your life. Because that's going to be what gives you the courage to say, you know what, I don't want to do this financial patterning I've been doing with spending or debt or lack of savings. I'm not going to stop doing that unless I have something that I want more than that. And that's why the first step is picturing the life that you want to create, whether it's in your career, in your family, financially, personally, all the above. And I want clients to tell me like, well, what do you want in your financial world? What do you want in your personal life? What about family? What about career? Because they're all parts of you, right?
Yes.
And the second step in the process came about because I noticed that when clients weren't in alignment with their nervous systems, they wouldn't open their financial envelopes up. They wouldn't like put to paper how much cash was going out the door that they were spending every month. So that step is the A is about accepting reality, because in that acceptance, you create emotional and energetic space for the new to come in. And it's just going, yep, I'm not real happy with what I just created. So I think I'm going to want to shift and change something and not necessarily know how to do it. And there's a second step in the A part of the process, and that's awakening to your authenticity, which we talked about a little bit earlier. And that's going, okay, we got to wake up that little girl, little boy that was full of all these dreams and all these aspirations until life started picking at you, right? And so by picturing the life you want to create, accepting reality and waking your true self up, then we're ready for step 3. And that is you're choosing and committing to the change, which means you're going to start to put some skin in the game. You're going to go, you know what? I'm actually going to take action, that you're actually consciously going to choose and commit to yourself. It's the most self-loving and self-caring thing that you can do. And the final step in the process is taking action. Now, that's where most financial planners start. They're like, hey, you got all these things and now we're going to change all your things and you're going to take action without doing all the stuff that's going to give you a solid foundation in the first place. And taking action, a lot of people are like, wow, your agendas for your clients are so long. And I'm like going, well, because they cover your personal life, your family life, your career, and your finances. Because I'm going to love you enough to hold you accountable going, I know you got some energy stuck and I think you need to go see an acupuncturist or go see an energy healer or something to move the energy.
Mm.
Everybody starts at different places and some people are open to different things that they've never tried before and some people are ready to jump off the deep end. So I'm always wanting to meet people where they're at, but it's going to stay on the agenda until I see you do the work to start to move some of that old patterning out, whether it's financially or in your career. Sometimes some of that action might be going, have that tough conversation with your boss of saying, you're not giving me the promotions, you're not giving me the pay raises, and I know I deserve it. So that you're walking in there and you're loving yourself enough to have that tough conversation and being willing to hold the boundary to say, you know what, I deserve better. I'm going to walk away. But so many people are so afraid to walk away from their jobs because of the fear of maybe not getting as much or not getting. And we stay in places because of fear, not because we truly love what we're doing.
Like sometimes I think we are afraid to take an action or take a step because, we have this financial plan in place and we have all this money that we have to spend.
Mm-hmm.
And if we lose that job based on our bold step, then we won't be able to fill all those holes that we have to fill with money basically every month.
Right. Well, most people haven't given themselves enough financial space to actually be nimble to move enough because so many people have too much debt and we've created too many bills for ourselves on a monthly basis that we actually corner ourselves and we don't have room or to breathe. And so it's about creating some of that breathing space financially. Like you don't have to spend every dime that comes in the door. But where we live in such a society these days where it's like, I gotta have it now. And it's like, well, I tell people all the time, I gave an assignment to a client yesterday. I want you to just put it in your Amazon cart. Give yourself 3 days before you press the buy button. Because what I've come to learn, that spending is usually just trying to satisfy something emotionally. And when you let it sit there for a few days, you usually don't desire it as much as you did at that moment.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, you're totally right. I just remember right now, I've been trying to convince myself that I need a new pair of jeans.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I open my wardrobe, I, intentionally look through all the clothes I've not worn before. Like, okay, no, you don't need a new pair of jeans. No, you don't need a new pair of jeans.
You may want it, but you don't need it. And then the question is instead of getting the jeans, would you rather travel more? And ask yourself those questions. Because if your goal is to travel more, well, then don't buy the jeans because you'd rather put that $50, or 50 euros. You want to put that in your travel bucket instead.
Yes.
And make it conscious. So often our spending is unconscious. It's not conscious. So this is about making conscious, empowered choices. That's why I hate the word budget, because a budget makes everybody feel like they're clamped down and that they can't move. It's like, no, I want you to choose how your cash flows. Choose your cash flows because then you're in a state of empowerment. And you're not victim to whatever circumstances you have.
Yeah. And if I could add again to, the PACT method, like I love the fact that it starts with picturing it. I believe it helps you to keep to the purpose, keep to the reason why you are on that financial freedom path.
Yeah,
also,
it's your compelling reason to change. If you don't have if there's no shiny thing that's gonna, you gotta have a driver. You gotta have something that wakes yourself up. Something that you wake up and you're going, I want that because it makes me giggle. And it's like, if it doesn't make you giggle, people are like, well, which is the smartest financial thing that I should do? And I go, which one makes you giggle more? And they're like, what? Because when you giggle, that's a higher vibrating emotion, makes you happy. Well, then you're going to manifest more because you're happy. And they're like, We don't even put those two together as human beings. And I see it time and time again. When 2008 and 2009 hit, people were getting laid off and around the world. It was a rough recession for the whole world. And it was interesting to me to watch people get $50 and $100,000 bonuses while other people are destitute and getting laid off. And every single one of those people loved the work that they did in the world. And their employers didn't want to lose them through the crisis because they were that good at what they did, because they were so happy with what they were doing. That's how money is the result. It
Yeah.
came in because you were super happy, even though it made no logical sense that you would get a $100,000 bonus when the whole global economy was crashing.
Does not make sense. Yeah, but it happens.
Right.
Yeah.
But I watched it happen. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's interesting because they really love what they do. Interesting.
And that's a mindset shift for me. Like, money is not meant to make you happy. Be happy and money will come.
Correct. Yep. Because money's the result.
Money is the result.
Right.
Wow. I mean, I've learned a lot from you, but I want us to maybe dive into this a little bit more, because there are a lot of listeners out there who could right now, start to notice that their financial decisions are driven by fear or conditioning or outside voices, like you've mentioned earlier already, rather than authentic alignment. How can they be fully aware of this and also start to make the shift away from fear and conditioning?
Right. Well, one, you have to recognize the fact that you do have fear, right? You have to realize, like I realized for years, I'm a female in the finance business. When I first started going to industry conferences, there was like out of 1,000 men, there were 2 women, and there were no minorities, right? And so not very diverse, but that's not representative of the world. And so I started sitting there going, I was trying to prove myself that I belong here. I should be here. And I was working harder, but I wasn't doing it the way that the rest of the industry did it because I wasn't a male. But my fear of not being successful was my driver, but that doesn't last forever because I was trying to become a man in my business. And it wasn't until I stopped tapping into that fear and said, I can't do it that way. I got to be myself and do it my way. What I like to call letting my freak flag fly, being myself. And I gave up all the suits that I used to wear. I moved out of a mahogany desk, stuffy financial office that looks also important and rich. I got out of all that. I never wear a suit anymore. And I had a loft space where people would come to me for my appointments. And I did that because that reflected who I was and how I want to do business, to hold a container in a space that was safe for people to unpack their fears and their mistakes and their guilt and their shame and judgment around their money situation. But when I was doing it based on fear that I'm not going to fail, I'm not going to fail, I'm not going to fail, and driving that from a fear-based, I was getting subpar results. It wasn't until I actually decided to embrace who I was and stop fearing that my way was wrong and just embracing that it's different, that's for sure. And then when I started seeing success, I haven't done any marketing whatsoever. And I get referrals all the time and my business grows on average 8% per year.
Wow.
And it's because I'm not letting fear drive the engine anymore. I'm allowing who I really truly am to drive the engine and following my own inner knowing and my intuition as to what's the next right step, and just keep walking the path, and it keeps growing and it keeps showing up and I keep having fun.
That's awesome. So it boils back down to knowing who you truly are, and don't be afraid to be different wherever you find yourself. You could be
Totally.
the only male, the only female, the only black, the only white, the only whatever.
Right.
Stand out.
Yep. Just be you. That's it. Just be you. But it's amazing in our world how hard we make it for people just to be themselves, because we're told, well, that's wrong because it's not like me. You're not like me. So then that's wrong. And that's not true. Not 1 ounce of that is true. And it's like, have the courage to actually let your freak flag fly and be your unique self, because the world needs the gifts that you have to share.
Yeah.
Like my industry needed the gifts of females and minorities so that they could get perspective on how to serve the population at large.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And now it does a much better job at that, but it's 30 years later, right?
Yeah.
Not that I'm that old.
If you had said it was 5 years ago, I'd have said, yeah, that's fine. Could be 30 something.
I know, 30. Can you believe that? Oh,
Yeah.
crazy.
So I would like us to digress a little bit, well, not digress, but actually talk about your book a little bit.
Sure.
We've learned about PACT, like picture that, accept, commit, and take action. And in my head right now, it's like thinking, okay, awakening your wealth, is that like the taking action part of it, or is that the committing to it part of it, of the journey? Or is it the whole method together?
Well, you have to follow the flow. And it's also a process where, as you continue to deepen, peeling the onion and getting more in alignment and manifesting more, you start the process over again because a lot of times people picture the life that they want to create too small when I first meet them. And
Mm,
so then when you start, I call it building your muscles. When you start building the muscles, going, well, that kind of fit in alignment. Well, I kind of had some success there, and going, what else can I do? And then people get excited because it starts to go like you're going, oh my gosh. So it's kind of like this process,
mm,
which is why, like, on my platform, I have a 6-week online course that people can take. And in that, I also then offer consulting coaching on a group level once a week after that, because people keep going through the cycle. And it's like, okay, well, now what do you want? Well, now do you want?
mm.
Like I had one woman who really wanted to she wanted her freedom, but she wanted to be paid more, but she thought she had to take a pay cut to get some freedom. And she's been in my group coaching now for 4 years, and she's living the life of Riley. Like, she lives in a completely different place, making a beautiful income. She's actually in Germany, mind you.
Oh, wow.
Um,
You have to
and
connect us.
and what she ran into in Germany as an example is that that's not the way it's always been done. You need to fall in line and do it the way that the process has been set up because it's fast and efficient. And she's like, but I don't want to. Like, she kept going, I don't want to. And I go, if you do what you're meant to do in the world, the right people will see you and they will compensate you accordingly. And literally, we just had somebody in the C-suite of the company that she works for. Her direct boss wanted to kibosh her and pull her into the office, a 3-hour train ride to go into Berlin. And she's like, no, when I got hired, I said I was only doing that once every 2 weeks. I'm not doing it every week. And then one of the C-suites got a word that that was happening. And he goes, we don't want to lose her. She's damn good at what she does. Give her what she wants. Like, it all came into alignment because she stayed true to what she wanted. And then they gave her a big pay raise because they thought her boss pissed her off.
Wow. That's how it works.
But you have to be willing to hold the boundaries for yourself that are the
Mm,
most self-loving and self-caring, and saying, I really don't want to get on a train for 3 hours into Berlin. And she held the line, and her fear came up. She was afraid she was going to be let go
mm,
and then lose her whole income. And the complete opposite happened recently. She got a pay raise and she kept her freedom,
mm. Yes. That
teaching a
happens
new
when you,
system.
yes. That's what that happens when you're aligned to your true self, yeah, to your inner self.
Exactly. And it's a process. You have to have some successes to know that, well, yeah, this is a new process and I know something different. People usually find me when they've tried everything else and they're going, okay, I'll try anything at this point because I can't keep doing it the way I'm doing it. That's usually when people will trust an out of box method like mine.
Yeah. I'm loving it already. And if I could just paraphrase a little bit or iterate a little bit so you could tell me if I'm wrong, all right? So to awaken, I mean, talking about your book again, to awaken my wealth, I'm
Uh-huh.
personalizing this right now. It means for me to picture something, picture what I want, picture my dream, my life purpose. For example, accept it, then commit to it and take an action. And then I could go on that same iteration again by picturing something bigger for the next step and then do the old thing again. I have to take action, accept it,
Yep.
commit to it, take action
Yep.
and go again.
Because life keeps evolving, right? And now that you're more conscious of your patterning and more conscious of what you want to create, that's
Mm,
why the process works over again.
walks over again. Yeah. Wow.
Because you become more in tune as to what's really true for you.
Yes, that's true. And then some things become clearer to me, basically. Maybe some things I didn't understand earlier in my purpose, for example, they become much more understandable to me. Yeah. Wow, you're opening my eyes to things. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But, for someone who is in the midst of burnout right now, maybe, they're just saying about this for the first time, but they've been trying to, pull all their strength, their weight to achieve things. And, that leads to a lot of burnout and, leads to frustration when it comes to money and success. So what would be the first small step that they can take right now towards harmony instead of hustle?
I think you need to realize that living in the present moment is all that we have. And when people are really stuck and they don't really know what the next right step is, you're probably pushing, which means you're in your masculine energy, whether you're feminine or male. Like if you're pushing and you're doing, then you're likely not living in the present moment because you're trying to do your way out of it. You're trying to hustle your way out of it. And you need to allow the synchronicities of the universe to work. If you set your intentions and you let them go and go, okay, this is what I would create. I am going to create this and this and this and this. And then you got to allow things to align for you. And then when you get those intuitive hits of going, oh, that's the right one. That's where I'm supposed to go. So, like, I was looking for a new house for about 2.5 years. And it wasn't until I walked into the one that I'm like, okay, this is not taking the timing I thought. It took way longer than I expected, but there was roadblocks in every direction. And I was like, And then when I walked in this one house, I was like, oh, this is it. Zoop! And then it went super fast, super easy, all in alignment. It's like we have to wait for the synchronicities to come into alignment with those intentions that we're setting. So if you're in the hustle and bustle, I need you to enjoy the present moment. Find your giggle. When you're ready to go to the to-do list and hustle to the next thing, ask yourself, is that going to make me giggle? Yes or no? And if it's not, don't do it. And it doesn't matter who you disappoint or who's going to be ticked off at you. It's about you choosing your giggle because that's going to cause everything to align.
Yes. New catchphrase, find your giggle.
For
Find your
sure.
giggle. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It's something you could put on a sticker to always remind yourself. Like, if this does not make me giggle, then just don't go for
Right.
it.
Then
Yeah.
you got to do it. You got to do it.
It does. Yes, yes. Wow. Okay. I mean, so I'm getting to understand a little bit more of, money mirroring the mind also, like from your client examples that you made mention of. So for listeners out there today, I would like to learn how we could, reframe our inner narrative so that we are able to have tangible financial breakthrough.
Well, you need to realize what your money story has been and then rewrite your new story. And at first, you're not going to believe it because you haven't operated that way thus far. But it's about choosing to rewrite your story to where it is in alignment. I think that's the biggest thing. Like we attach stories to everything. And usually those stories are just your patterning from the houses you grew up in and the communities that you live around today. And when we can start to let go of some of those stories and say, okay, I'm willing and open for something to come into alignment, but you have to realize what you're actually putting out in the world currently. And that's where the accepting reality comes into play in the process. Because you want to see what it is that you're putting out there so that you can now become more conscious to it so that you can make conscious choices in a different direction.
So we have to look into those patterns that that we have. Yeah.
Right.
Wow. I mean, for people out there who have not, picked up your book yet, like, can you tell us where we could get it? And I know we could learn the PACT method from it already. But for people out there who are very curious, and I've heard me say Awaken Your Wealth like 2 or 3 times already, like, can you shine some light on the book and let them know? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I currently have 3 books. The first one was The Emotion Behind Money. My second one is Awaken Your Wealth. And the third one is The 4 Spiritual Laws of Money. And all 3 of them are available on Amazon, or certainly you can go to my website, juliemurphy.com. And that's where all of my books are, my online courses, my coaching program, group coaching. And, and I'm here, I didn't grow up with money. I figured out how to not only create it, but also hold it in abundance. And so no matter where a person is financially at today, I have something that can help you at any level. And so it's about that you have a dream or desire for it to be different and you're ready for change, then my work will be the catalyst for you because I'm a change agent. I disrupt people's patterns. That's what I do, and that's what I'm great at. And I help people get to the next place that they want to be in.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to place the link to your website in the show notes of this episode. So I encourage everyone out there who is interested in getting the books, maybe consulting with you, should click on the link and, get the book already. But I would like to ask you, if you permit me, to speak about the spirituality behind our financial success or financial journey. What role does We've talked about this earlier, but I want us to go a little bit deeper into it about energy and letting go of the toxic energy through acupuncture and whatnot.
So that's where I'm going to grow out my 4 Spiritual Laws of Money book.
Yeah.
The answer to that is, let me just share with you that the spiritual component of it is that the first one is that manifestation begins with desire, which we talked about a little bit, right? And we have to understand that our hearts, the human heart, is stronger than our brains, except usually we make logical decisions, but we need to start with our heart and then we need to
Mm.
add our smarts.
Hmm.
That's the giggle piece, right? And
Yes.
our intention, the third one is our intention redirects energy. And that's why you have to fund those intentions with your money, because then you can manifest more because it's something that makes you happy. And then the fourth spiritual law of money is that the universe responds to action. So you can't just say, oh, I'm going to manifest X, Y, and Z, and then not step into it as it shows up and aligns, right? You have to, once you do like the PAC, you have to do the last step of the process, which is the taking action, because otherwise, how are they going to get done? Right?
Yeah.
And so the spirituality piece is really, it starts with your inner self. My first book, my subtitle is Building Wealth from the Inside Out. And that's your authenticity. So build it from your inside of who you really truly are. And then have everything come from that point. And that's the spirituality component of it, because you're aligning with self. You're not aligning with something that's outside of you. You're going on an inner directive as opposed to an outer directive.
Yeah. Going from an inner directive and an outer directive. I know I'm a very curious person, but from the journey of recording this podcast and speaking with people also out there, I get to experience, and also from my own personal life too, sometimes we think we have our lives figured out. Like we think we know who we are, maybe because of how we've been conditioned, our environment. So I'm trying to figure out, I mean, just to ask you, like, how can I know that I am truly who I am, basically? Like, okay, this is who Toby is, not because his mom said so, not because he came from Nigeria, not because how can I know this is who I am authentically basically? Yeah.
Because you giggle. Because that's
Okay.
your heart waking up. If you're in your head and you're like, well, I don't know about this or that, well, you're in your head. You're not in your heart. So if you're evaluating it or you're considering it, like that's all up in your head. And our whole schooling system teaches us to do that.
Yeah.
To go straight up to our head. And that's the opposite of what we need to be doing. We need to actually follow our heart and then add our smarts. And it's authentically you because it feels good. It makes you giggle. Otherwise, your body is way more intelligent than your mind. And when we start to follow our body intelligence, like if you get nervous about something, then it's not in alignment. If you don't have a direct answer, well, it's okay to not have the answer. Just pause until you have an answer and then step into it. But we so want to push and be like, but it gotta be now. It's gotta be. No, it does not. If we can pause and be in the present moment going, well, it's not a yes and it's not a no, and I'm not really sure. Well, just stay in that neutral zone until it is a yes or a no. But too often we try to push our own agendas and what our mind is telling us it's gotta be because of our fear and our anxiety.
Wow. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Like, I just had to ask that because sometimes we think that, okay, yeah, you said be aligned to your inner self, know who you are. But actually, our inner self is not actually our inner self. It's just what we think it is.
For
it should
sure.
be. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But once it makes you giggle, and once you are not over calculating everything, making it logically
then you know it's in alignment with you.
Yes, yes.
Even
Wow.
if it pisses everybody else off, who cares? We have to be okay disappointing people because they want us to show up the way they want us to show up to make them giggle. But it's about what makes you giggle.
True. That is very deep. Because sometimes I always think people, try to not enforce, but guide us in a particular direction because they have our best interest in their arts, basically, or they have our best interest in mind. But sometimes it's about themselves. It's about trying to make them smile or giggle.
Yeah, people don't like when you change because then you're not showing up the way they want you to show up. And it's okay. Do the most self-loving and self-caring thing.
Yeah.
Because then everything falls into alignment.
They might call you a rebel, but it's fine.
So what? That's their issue, not your issue. If somebody's triggered about what you choose, the trigger is about them. It's not about you. We like to blame other people for when we're triggered, when we get ticked off or when we don't like something. But if you're triggered, something in you is trying to heal. It's not about the other people. It's about you if you're triggered. Like if I make a choice with something with my children and they're triggered by it, that's because something needs to shift in them. It's not about me.
Yeah. It's about them, yeah. Because once it's triggers something in you, then there's
Correct.
work to be done in you. Yeah. Wow. I mean, I always like to ask, like, is there like a message of hope or empowerment you want to leave our listeners with from this episode that could help them to lead their wealth, to awaken their wealth, and to live like they are actually not live like, but to live as a CEO of their own purpose and vision in life?
You need to realize that you're the gold you're searching for.
You are the gold you're searching for. That's deep. Thank you so much. I've
You're
learned so much from
welcome.
you.
Well, thanks
Yeah,
for having me.
that's been so awesome speaking with you. One more time, I'll place the link to your website in the show notes of this episode.
Thank you.
You've left me in a state of thinking and reflecting right now.
Go in your heart. Stop thinking. Go in your heart.
Go in your heart. I'm short of words. Like, thank you so much. I'm so filled up with a lot of things to work on myself. Yeah, that's awesome.
Beautiful. Well,
Yes.
my time was well spent.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.